Today's Brett Talk is brought to you by coffee. Dark, rich coffee. It doesn't matter what kind, as long as it's a little too expensive. Coffee, it makes me talk. This morning I was listening to Cat Stevens, or the artist formerly known as Cat Stevens, now known as Yusuf. His song, Fathers and Sons. This is a beautiful song. I think it's misunderstood. The large number, the voice in the song is actually the voice of his father. So it's supposed to be ironic or representative of some things he didn't want to get when he was a kid. And one of the things that he says was, as soon as I learned to speak, I was told to listen. This is just, like, shut up, shush. Now, my parents were not like that. But they, in more subtle ways, they didn't know anything about, like, don't touch that. And, I think mostly because, one, and now that I have a 1-year-old, they just want to touch everything. They want to get into everything. And if you got stuff to do, like from clean the house to make a living, it can be irritating to have a small being trying to sever their hand off with a knife that you accidentally left on a counter. You didn't realize that they could reach, but they will somehow grow an inch in a day and get all the way up there, and and then just. So it's easy to say, hey, stop, careful, and to have every other word out of your mouth be careful, stop, don't do that, And so it's either careful, or in some households it's like, shh, stop, I'm not talking to you, or, we'll care what you're saying when you're old enough, by which time you'll believe that nothing you have to say is worth anything, because that's, what you've learned. So it reminds me of John Holt's book, How Children Learn. And he says that if you pay attention to children, they are like little scientists, right? Test and retest and test and retest. You may think, because we're imposing our old ideas upon a child, that when a little kid tears apart the Lego house that you just made for them, you're thinking, oh, humans are destructive. They're naturally destructive, and that's why, especially those little boys, you fill them with testosterone and they just tear apart the house, which is a total misnomer. It's a total nonsense thing. A little girl will, at a young age, take the house apart. That's all that you build it, they'll take it apart. You build it, they'll take it apart. Until one day, they put it together. So what have they been doing? They've been reverse engineering your Lego house, or the remote control of the television, or the television itself. If you gave the kid a tool and let him at the back of your flat screen television, I give him a week. A 1-year-old, I give him a week before he had the entire TV open and all the wires exposed. Sure, the kid probably shouldn't do that, but maybe that kid will become an electrical engineer, right? And that's, in a nutshell, what John Holt is talking about. We're all born scientists, right? Right. And so I bring this up because there are actually people who believe that the earth is flat, and that every scientist from Copernicus, Galileo, through Einstein, every PhD brilliant scientist at NASA. Oh, and don't forget the people who make globes and are ripping us off, selling these monstrosity lies. They believe that all of these people. I just turned into Bernie Sanders for a second. They believe that all of these people are in an enormous conspiracy theory to trick you into thinking the earth is actually round. Look, and then you try to argue with them using facts, and the only comeback is, I have the right to believe the earth is flat. Okay, well, let's really get into that. Yeah, sure. You have the right to be freaking stupid, right? You do. And it may not even be your fault, right? Because we are the sum total of our experiences. And if you've been experiencing a train of idiots and lies your entire life, then maybe what we get is a box full of stupidity and lies. And it's not your fault. But if you want to believe that 2 plus 2 equals 5, and your only proof is 2 plus 2 equals 5. See 5? Right? And then when people say, well, we can actually do an experiment where you shine a light. Light goes straight. And if you put the other object at the same height off the water, which is flat, it will actually miss after a certain distance. Well, someone who already believes something and who has been taught out of their scientific mind, they will make up another thing. They'll make up another lie to prove the lie that they already believe. And they're not at fault. Because tyranny begins with the untruth, with lies, right? And so if you want a bunch of people to believe that it was a perfect call, if you want a bunch of people to believe that the hurricane was going to just go a bunch of different places that it wasn't going to go, if you want to believe that standing in front of a camera with your image going around the world saying, hey, foreign government, could you please interfere in our election, is not communicating with those people, then you need people to believe the earth is flat, that it started 6,000 years ago, which, by the way, like Steve Nye said, if you're telling someone the earth started 6,000 years ago, that lie is the same lie as saying the distance between New York and Los Angeles is the length of a free throw shot on a basketball court. Yeah, that's not freedom. That's child abuse, right? So free speech protects us when we want to express our opinions or our point of view. It does not give you the right to run into a movie theater and scream fire and cause a bunch of people to run out and trample over each other. So I would argue that telling children the earth is flat or that it's 6,000 years old and that science is a lie, that your very nature is wrong, that your curiosity, you're seeking the truth, you're wanting to find what's real and true is wrong. No, the answers only come from one source, a demigod, a totalitarian oligarch who believes they have all the answers. And scientists will always make themselves vulnerable to psychotic lunatics who say, see, they said it was just a theory. In the scientific world, it's a theory is just a polite term to stay out of the world of dogma. We call it the theory of relativity. We're not exactly sure how gravity works, so it's theoretical. We know it exists. We can measure it. We can watch it. It's a thing. It really happens. And because it really happens, we know that we stick to a round planet that's so big. Sorry to bruise the tiny egos of the flat earthers. The earth is so big, you can't see around it. You're only this tall. And your brain is only filling your head. and filling your brain is the nonsense that you're not allowed to figure stuff out. You just have to believe what people tell you. Well, no one's telling you you have to believe the earth is round. But you can, if you allow yourself to be curious. Look at the data. Go out and do some tests yourself. Climb a tall mountain. Watch the ships come up over the horizon, just like Galileo did, and see for yourself that there is a curve in the earth. And then save your pennies. Get on a plane and fly in one direction for 30 hours and see for yourself, like the little kid who tears apart the Lego house. Yes, the earth is round and it's finite and fragile and beautiful, and you better take care of it, because all the garbage isn't just going to fall off the end. Like, as Paula Poundstone says, if the earth was flat, don't let my cat near the end, because they'll just knock everything off. So I'm sure that the flat earthers can just agree with the anti-scientists and everybody else saying that we're not ruining the planet. All of the plastic will just fall into space like we're living on Asgard. Well, this has been Brettatks, brought to you by